Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Guff here, and we're going to be doing another Guff Stuff weekly podcast. And this time I have Javen Baker with me, and we're going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons 5th and 2nd edition, and maybe even some 3rd and 4th. The big debate, which edition's better and which ones aren't. And we're going to go over the goods, bads, and the uglies. So, Javen Baker,
Hello.
what is your favorite edition?
Personally, I think it's a toss-up right now between 2nd and 5th.
Okay, why is that?
So, initially it was 2nd because of all the source material.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with the release of Spelljammer, that's just been spoiled, it's telling me that they're signaling, hey, we want 5th edition to have that catalog.
Right.
It tells me they're going to stick with 5th for a while.
Right, yep, I agree,
Which,
100%.
2nd edition, it was like, what, 87 to 99?
Yeah, you got me on that one. I don't know the years on that, but I know that I played it for, I played 2nd edition probably 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Until I quit, and then next thing I played was 5th ed.
Yeah.
So.
And I've played 1st edition and 2nd edition. I think 2nd edition has a leg up on 1st edition.
I think it was it was more forgiving.
Yeah, more forgiving, less convoluted.
Yeah, 1st edition was brutal.
Trying to weave your way through that 1st edition dungeon manual, that Dungeon Master's manual, was absolutely brutal.
I never DM'd a bunch of it. I played it. It was horrible. You know, where you had to be a dwarf and that was your class and your race.
Yeah.
An elf class race.
Well, that's the original D&D.
Oh, yeah. Oh, back though. Okay, then at first.
I'm thinking, when I say first, I mean like advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah. Well.
But yeah, the basic D&D and the expert D&D, I've never actually played that.
That's how I started. Way back I was 10 years old, so 84.
Okay.
It's been a while. And, yep. Yeah, it was a interesting system. I do like 5th edition because it is. It's easy for everybody to get into it and easy to play.
Yeah, the entry to 5th edition is minuscule.
Yeah, pretty much a no-brainer.
And the fact that there's even free players' handbooks too. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
The basic player's handbook is free.
Right. So I think so. I think they have basic versions of all of them, don't they?
That I'm not sure on.
I know, like, if I was in the different online systems, Roleplay, Roll20, or D&D Beyond, or Fantasy Grounds, I know they have, like, basic levels of books for, I think, all three of those. The 3 core books.
Well, that could be, I know, like, Roll20.net does that, too, where they have, like, if you have a character sheet, or like one of their proprietary character sheets or whatever,
Right.
It's linked to all the books.
Right. It's handy as heck. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess the topic is mostly about 2nd and 1st, 2nd, and which most people just blend together, and then 5th ed. And 2nd ed, I guess my favorite thing about 2nd ed over 5th ed would be in 2nd ed there was non-weapon proficiencies, which gave you some major downtime stuff that you could do. And you could have your whole campaign run off of just your non-weapon proficiencies. I mean, we would have jewelers and blacksmiths and all kinds of stuff, and there was rules set up for that in the books. You know, where 5th ed, I mean, they're slowly getting there, but it's still not nearly as fleshed out as 2nd was as far as that goes.
Yeah, and like bouncing off of that, I remember in the Dungeon Master's Guide for 2nd edition, it had, if you wanted to hire a sage, or you wanted to hire, the hirelings and the...
Or archers
and jewelers, blacksmith, like you said. You could hire people based on their non-weapon proficiencies.
Yep.
And actually had like gold values for what they're worth per day, stuff like that. And I think that's a big thing that 5th has been missing too, is the...
Hirelings?
The hirelings, for one.
Yep.
There's not quite a system for it. I think that's intentional. I think that it's meant for the heroes to be more heroic.
Right.
And more powerful, and not have to rely on henchmen so much.
Yeah.
Because the older editions, it was definitely, you relied on your henchmen quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I miss the downtime activities.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people just want to go. Like in a video game, you just go. But I like playing games that have downtime activities too. Yeah. So for me, For me, second ed has it over that on fifth so far. Fifth has, like I said, with Xanathars and Tasha's and every new book that comes out, they add a little bit of something.
Yeah, so I think the biggest update for fifth was Xanathars.
Oh yeah, by far.
And I remember in Xanathars they have stuff for like the cartographer's kits. It was all the kits.
Yep.
It's not quite a... You could get a proficiency in a kit.
Right.
But not necessarily the non-weapon proficiency.
Right. Yeah, I kind of took away some of the special... Not special. Anybody could buy all the kits. Yeah. And, as long as your stats for that were good, you could pretty much do it.
And I think that's what it's missing is the fact that the kits are just give you your proficiency bonus. It's like a way of almost cheating.
Yeah.
Like if you take a poisoner's kit, you can extract poisons from an animal without having to use nature check. You can use your poisoner's kit.
Right.
And to me, that kind of detracts from like the core idea of what you're trying to do.
Right. Right.
If you're a woodsman or a nature survivalist who's very well versed in taxidermy or whatever, harvesting animal parts, you should know how to cut out a poison sac.
Yeah, you would think so.
And right. You used to have non-weapon proficiencies for that.
Right. Well, that, again, fifth ed likes to... Again, I like fifth ed. I've played it a lot. They do like to blend the character classes a little bit, too. They want to be able to have the spell-casting warrior without multi-classing or dual class in fifth ed, but... and where second ed, you literally had to multi-class or dual class, and then it was. I guess back then it wasn't as smooth as it is with the, warriors casting spells was really awkward in second ed because you had to take your armor off.
Yeah,
essentially, you know, or if you're going to be a priest, that was fine, but you couldn't wear heavy armor, or you had to have light armor or whatever it was. I don't remember exactly,
but that was a fundamental thing back then too, is that magic didn't function as powerfully, and it's kind of like that in fifth, because if you think about it, like an Eldritch Knight.
Yeah.
For those that aren't familiar, an Eldritch Knight is a fighter class that can cast spells. You can cast them in your full armor, which in second edition you wouldn't have been able to do.
Right.
But the thing is that they're never getting access to super powerful spells.
No, they're getting very basic spells.
The amount of magic that you can channel through while wearing armor is very limited.
Right. Yeah, no, that's okay. I think it makes it way easier on new players to just get in and play something like they've seen on TV or they've seen in their favorite book or on their favorite video game.
And I think the discussion in second and fifth specifically is a little bit awkward because there's 2 editions in between that they had time to fix some stuff.
Right.
Like spell slots. Spell slots are a great idea.
Right.
Especially cantrips.
Yeah. Yeah, what a savior that was.
Because quite honestly,
you're not a useless wizard anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that was the balance of wizards, though. Was
Yeah, only limited number of spells in second ed. At low levels, you were pretty squishy and easily to die. And any second ed player out there that's listening to this or may listen to this in the future will definitely understand that you probably rolled more than one wizard throughout your life.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't really have that problem in fifth ed. Wizards aren't nearly as squishy. Their hit points are pretty decent. And they cast cantrips, which are unlimited. You can cast them over and over every round. First and second, you had one spell, first level wizard. Once you cast it, you were relying on your other stuff. You were relying on being maybe an elf, so you could use a bow. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's literally what you were doing.
And a longsword.
Yeah. So.
The other thing, speaking of dying, I think the death saving throw system's the best system they've done for it. It's harder to die. I think that's the system itself. Right. But I think make it straight up luck save, essentially. Right. To see if you die or not. Yeah. I really like the death saving throws.
Yeah. Yeah, second ed death was pretty permanent and pretty quick when you got there. Somebody hit you for 11 points and you only had 1 hit point left, you were just dead.
Yeah, because that was the old...
Yeah, negative 10, you're just dead.
The old standard used to be negative 10 was you're dead.
Now if someone hits you, just brings you to 0. Yeah. then you can stabilize or not stabilize and then die after 3 rounds usually.
There is a rule in 5th ed though too. I don't know if it's an alternate rule, but if you take equal to your hit points and go negative,
yeah,
it's a straight up
yeah. If you had say 20 hit points,
murder.
And you take 40, you're just dead.
Yeah, you're just dead.
Because you go negative 20, you're just dead.
Yeah, which I like that they kept
a little bit of that. Yep.
Some of the other things I miss and I don't miss the insta-death stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want a grittier game, just make your Green Dragon Saber die.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it used to be. It was breathing the chlorine gas from the dragons. I do miss that about dragons in first edition specifically.
Right.
When a dragon breathed its breath weapon, it did its hit points.
Right.
Its full hit points and damage.
Right.
Which, having a static amount of damage is pretty scary.
Yeah.
When you're fighting an 88 hit point dragon and it can just breathe for 88 damage.
Everything was a little more... It was a little rough around the edges for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think after years of playing, or even, I don't know how many years you've been playing that specific edition, but I know after years of playing, you just adapt and find ways to avoid confrontation in a lot of cases like that. You see a dragon, you don't just charge into it. Yeah. 5th ed, you just charge into it because you know there's a fighting chance you're going to win if you have a big enough group. 2nd ed, 1st ed, whatever it was, you definitely weighed the odds. Because you know that he comes down, he breath weapons you, like you said, a green dragon uses chlorine gas, and you just all die. Or acid, and you just all melt. Pretty simple.
That's the other thing, too. I guess this is kind of another subject that's a bigger subject to talk about. But talking about fighting, the action economy of the different systems.
Right.
Because 5th feels... like everybody kind of gets to do something similar.
Right.
However, I definitely think that 5th favors, especially around the 6th level to 11th level, is definitely favoring martial characters for the action economy because you're getting 2 attacks.
Right.
Now, granted, you can get like Fireball as a wizard and have a very powerful spell, but that's all you're doing for the turn.
Right.
And in 2nd edition, it was kind of similar, but I don't know. I guess the action economies are pretty similar if you think about it.
Yeah, they didn't have really. I mean, there was no bonus actions in 2nd ed. It was just you basically just described it, what you could do, and
you guys hashed it out.
You hashed it out and either argued about it or didn't. I mean, there was movement, so there was that. Yeah. And nobody ever talks about weapon speed because that was...
I actually really liked weapon speed.
It's a very rough system to play. Yeah. It's the dagger guy always wins for the most part.
Yeah. For those that don't know, weapon speed is it used to be roll low to get your initiative.
Right.
And each weapon was assigned a value, daggers being like 1, a halberd being like 10.
Yep.
And that's how fast the weapon was, and you added that to your initiative. So it's more likely than not that the guy with the dagger was going to be able to shiv you before you could hit him with the halberd.
He might even be able to shiv you once or twice before you even swing with your halberd.
Yeah.
A lot of people did away with it just because it made a lot of, at least in our groups that I played, it just made everybody play a certain type of character. Most people stayed away from pole arms and great weapons and sword and shield and heavy armor because it was just like a rogue wearing a loincloth and 2 daggers or darts would just go up and just annihilate
darts.
you.
Yeah, the old darts.
And they'd throw like 6 darts and you'd be like, oh, I'm going to pull my shield out. Well, you're already dead, so have a nice day, bud.
The old darts issue.
Yeah.
That's one of my... It's talking about bad action economy. The discrepancy between how many arrows you could shoot. Because you could shoot 2 arrows at level 1.
Yep.
In 2nd edition.
Yep. I liked that. I actually liked there was a little table where you could specialize or not, even if you didn't specialize in 2nd ed, where you could, as a fighter, that was one of my favorite things, is you could specialize in something and then it leveled up with you how many attacks you got with different items. Mm-hmm. And even as a fighter, you could still throw many darts, but it was still cool to have like 3 attacks every 2 rounds.
Yep.
Which, fifth ed, you can do that. It's just a little more stuff, a little more involved, I guess.
Yeah, and
Which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Action economy, something that really sucks in fifth ed, and this is, I'm sorry, but it's just true. Dual wielding.
Yes.
In fifth edition, it just sucks.
Yes.
The idea that you're going to fight with 2 weapons in fifth edition, you're going to take a feat that just gives you bonus damage.
Right.
Doesn't even give you like an extra attack.
No,
Quote unquote.
yeah, right.
Back in first and second edition, if you had 2 weapons, you swung two times.
Twice. Yep.
It was
just how it was. Yeah.
You took negatives.
There might have been negatives on the offhand if I recall correctly, but yeah, no, for sure. The action economy. I don't know. Again, though, it goes back down to, was it easier to learn fifth ed than it was second?
Yeah, I mean it's.
I think it was personally. Fifth ed, in second ed, I memorized page numbers and stuff because you had to reference them all the time. Yeah. I couldn't tell you what page anything was on in fifth ed.
Yeah, I still remember what pages like saving throws are.
Right,
it's like 68. And
in that, I think in that version, I think the other player's handbook, one of the other editions, the advanced one, the blue edition, I think had 100 and something was 104, 103 was an important page, and it was just pages were more important, and you had to go reference them all the time. Fifth ed, you don't have to reference any of that. It's pretty generic across the board.
Yeah.
So everything's difficulty checks and stuff, which I don't know if I like or not, but I guess it standardizes things and makes it easier.
Well, it used to be to make an ability check in second edition, you rolled versus your stat, right? And you wanted to be below your stat with certain negatives on the set. It was pretty convoluted. It was a lot like THACO, where it's like you kind of need a little bit of a math degree to figure out what you're doing.
For sure.
But it was always based upon your stat. And I guess in 5th edition, they just took everything and inverted it.
Right.
They turned everything into a bonus.
They just standardized it and made it simple all the way across the board. Everything's always a plus. There's not very many backwards ways of thinking in 5th ed. So I can appreciate that for sure. There's enough stuff in 5th ed that reminds me of 2nd ed and maybe even what people say about 3rd and 3.5 and 4th. Yeah. I never played 3.5 and 4, so I don't have a lot to say about that stuff.
I played a lot of 4th. My favorite thing about 4th was skills. I think they did skills really well.
Okay.
That's like what 5th edition skills are based off of.
Okay.
Was the skill list from 4th edition.
Okay.
And it was basically just a flat DC to meet this and that. Okay. Whereas in 3.5, it was different skill ranks, and it got really, really convoluted.
Right. They tried to upgrade whatever 2nd was doing and just make it more complicated.
Exactly. 4th edition simplified skills, and 4th edition actually had one of the best. They had skill challenges, they were called.
Okay.
And it was an extended system for using multiple skills to achieve a task. So you want to talk about like downtime activities? 4th edition had really good skill challenge system.
Right.
You can actually do like initiative orders and do like a skill combat.
Right.
Like a parkour or a chase scene or something like that. It was very conducive to an extended use of skills.
I wonder why they didn't bring any of that over to 5th.
They kind of did. For the chase rules.
Oh yeah. That's if you play in the module Mad Mage or Dragon Heist. Yeah, you have chase sequences you have to play.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. I appreciated
and
that.
That was based off of the skill challenges from 4th edition, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea. That's pretty cool. I know they've just tried to wipe out. I'm not trying to rip on Wizards here, but they did try to wipe out the whole history of anything before 5th, which is sad because I think if you want to play a role-playing system, that's fine, but it's good to know the history to where it comes from, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
of course, that's just because I started there, you know. And now that they're trying to wipe out the histories and just write out new histories, but now they're adding Spelljammer and Dragonlance and astral travel and stuff like that. So
the other thing I think they took out of 3.5 that I liked was the ability to specialize within your class.
Right.
Like you could play an assassin, but they didn't go all the way in with prestiges and all this
Right.
other stuff. They kept it, like you said, pretty simple.
Right.
Keep it easy to learn. But they do give you the option where in second edition you could only really make a different fighter
Right.
by buying different weapons and different non-weapon proficiencies.
Right. Yeah. No, fighters were just straight up fighters. There was no real change. I mean, if you wanted to be something different, you really had to go outside the boundaries and dual class, multi class. That was really the only way of being a different fighter.
Yeah, and it was basically, again, more convoluted.
Yeah. It was generic but convoluted, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you really wanted to be an ultimate class, you played a bard. I mean, that was the...
I mean, I think bards, and it's funny because bards to this day, that's one of the big issues I have with 5th, is, speaking of bards, this kind of gets my blood boiling.
Oh, here we go.
Bards are too good in 5th.
Think so?
I think so. They're full casters.
Yeah.
A bard is just a charisma-based cast. Like, a bard is just a better sorcerer.
Right.
Like, or a better wizard.
And they share a lot of spells with wizards and sorcerers.
The fact that bard can get wish.
Yeah, no, that... Yeah, that's... Okay, now you're hitting one of my button topics with 5th Ed, is there is no differentiating, really, between the arcane casters.
No.
90% of spells transfer from one to another to another. Yeah. Like... You go back to 2nd Ed, and they have complete spell lists that are completely different. And yes, some crossover, like heals and basic things, tech magic, whatever. But in 5th Ed, it's like the bard, the sorcerer, and the wizard. Pretty much, I mean, I think I went through and actually looked up the wizard spells between that and sorcerer, and there was maybe 10 different spells that the wizard got that the sorcerer didn't get.
Yeah. So
I'm like, wow, that's not cool at all.
Yeah. Well, sorcerers, there were no sorcerers in 2nd.
No, there wasn't.
You had wild mages.
Yeah, well,
those were, for lack of a better word, no pun intended, wild.
Yeah, it was not. If you told somebody you were a wild mage and you didn't tell them before you joined the group, they were probably scoffing at you and scolding you and not being very happy because the chaos that it causes.
Yeah, if you ever wanted a good example of how a wild mage in 2nd edition worked, just play Baldur's Gate.
Exactly.
Not Imoen. Is that her name? No.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. But one of the characters in Baldur's Gate is a wild mage. And that's another thing. This kind of goes into spellcasting now. What happened to spells affecting everybody?
Right.
Like, if I cast Entangle, why does it not affect my allies?
See, I think 5th Ed failed in that aspect. There's a few spells that still do that. And I think they toned down a lot of spells. Like, and I don't really want to argue about this too much. I mean, not argue about it or even discuss it because it's such a hot topic for me. I'll just get going. I'll be on it for hours. But they just dumbed down everything so much. And again, making it user-friendly so you didn't hurt your group. But part of being a wizard, a good wizard in any of the other editions, was paying attention to what your group was doing and knowing when to cast that lightning bolt. And not being the guy standing in the back going, I'm going to cast lightning bolt at the troll in front of me. Okay, you have all your players in front of you. Yeah, I'm going to cast lightning bolt. Well, in 2nd Ed, you just kill everybody. Yeah. Now in 5th Ed, you're just like, it hits the troll.
I'm playing a caster for the first time in 5th Ed. I haven't messed with casters too much. I usually, for the record, DM. I don't play a whole lot. And in my brain, lightning bolt, I'm like, we were in a hallway, and there was an end of the hallway.
Right.
And one of our players cast lightning bolt. And I'm like, no, don't cast lightning bolt. It's going to stroke back. It's going to bounce off the wall and hit us. And everyone looked at me like I was an idiot. They're like, what are you talking about?
It doesn't work that way in this edition. What are you talking about?
I'm like, what? No, it's gonna bounce off the wall and hit us.
Yeah.
Well, in 2nd edition, that was one of those weird things.
It just goes.
Fireball, too.
Yeah.
So, it used to be Fireball wasn't... I mean, it was a 20-foot radius, cube, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the big thing was it was 33,000 cubic feet.
Right.
So if you cast it in a hallway, it's going to fill up the whole hallway. It doesn't matter if the hallway's 40 feet long.
Right. No, everything's an inferno.
Yeah. And there was no ability to shape a spell to protect somebody in a pocket. I think that's really cool. By the way, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think giving evocation... I like how they did specialization in this edition.
Gotcha, yeah.
Speaking of spellcasting. I keep referencing things that I'm assuming the listeners have knowledge of. So,
Well, if they don't, I'm sure we'll hear about it, and then we can just make a new video on the details.
yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah, fifth ed is a very. Again, it makes it easier to play with more people.
Yes.
For sure. If I sat people down with second or first ed, and they go to cast lightning bolt and they kill their whole group, they're probably never going to play with me again.
Right.
You know, whether if especially on the DM and I let it happen. You know, but in fifth ed, it's just I don't know. I guess it was hard for me to understand how that benefited things, just because I've played the hardcore rules for so long
Yeah.
that my spells say, you know, power word kill just doesn't instantly kill. Well, it does, but you have to bring it down below a certain number of hit points.
Which is still
Or-
that's what it used to be too.
Was it in second? Okay, maybe I'm
Because
thinking
in
of something
second and
else.
first edition, power word kill was 100 hit points or less.
Okay, so yeah, maybe it was something else I was thinking. Maybe like disintegrate or something,
Yeah.
or magic item like Sphere of Annihilation.
Yeah.
That's 60 damage. Well, you got hit by a Sphere of Annihilation in old
Second
edition, you were just dead.
Yeah.
Like there was
It was
no.
a disintegration spell.
Yeah, essentially you're just gone. Even disintegration doesn't kill you straight up anymore.
It can.
Well, it can kill you, but it doesn't necessarily
Right.
have to. Where in second ed, it pretty much did kill
Yeah.
you. You were just a little powder left on the ground.
The other thing, this is something I wish both editions would do. Actually, no. Second ed was really good with this. It was kind of an obscure thing to find, but once you found it and you read about it, it made a lot of sense. Spell research.
Yep.
Making your own spells.
Right.
Was a huge part of being a wizard.
Right.
Um,
Custom crafting your own spells.
I had a necromancer player in one of my campaigns. This was back in second edition. And one of the big things about playing a necromancer is that you don't get access to evocation spells. So you don't get fireball, magic missile, nothing like that.
Right.
But what he ended up doing was making versions of it for necromantic schools. So like he had necromantic missile.
Right.
Well, instead of being a first level spell, it was a third level spell. And
That's handy.
what it did was it fired, the same as magic missile,
Right.
except that it healed you for the amount
Oh, there you go.
that it shot you for. Like,
I like that.
how cool is that?
That is
Like,
cool.
he came up with that, and I'm like, I didn't put any. I'm like, I just gave him what spell level it would be,
Right.
stuff like that, and the ability. He paid his money. He did his time, his 2 weeks or whatever to research it,
Right.
and it was all good.
Anyhow, necromantic missiles. I had a little quick pause there.
But yeah, no, the idea of spell creation was so integral to being a mage.
Right. Just researching was wonderful back then too. Mm-hmm. And I think there might be some rules on that in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and maybe they might have elaborated more in like even Tasha's. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research into that because none of my players want to go that deep into the game.
Right, and that's the thing too, is like, if the game doesn't force you to delve that deep, are
Right.
you going to?
No. I found no.
For the average player,
Right.
absolutely not.
Right.
For a DM who likes to play, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and I found that most of the DMs that I've played under, even in 5th Ed, are very creative on how they do things. Mm-hmm. And they go into them weird little off rules more than a player will. Even though the players have the same access to it
Yep.
as everybody else does. So, anyhow, we're getting close to our 30-minute time limit here.
Oh, we have a 30-minute time limit?
Just for this episode, yeah. And then we
Okay.
could do more episodes too. So, I hope you guys liked our talk about 5th Ed and 2nd Ed, and we're going to continue the series probably. We'll get in more deep. Maybe we'll get a little more detailed on the things we're going to talk about in the future, and we kind of just bounce around a little bit just to kind of get a feel for what we want to talk about. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and yeah. Until next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, yeah. Next time. We'll talk to you later. Have a nice day.